The ZA Tech Show is made possible by Vodacom. Power to you at vodacom.co.za. And by BlackBerry. Love doing business on your BlackBerry smartphone at blackberry.co.za. Of the ZA Tech Show. My name is Simon Dingle. It's Monday night, the 12th of September, and that's the intro to the show tonight. I have a massive panel assembled in front of me, consisting of Sam Beck-Bessinger. Ooh, let me switch on your mic.
I was just saying, and all my multiple personalities.
All your multiple personalities. All the voices in her head.
Yeah, just to bulk up the panel.
And that's it for this week. Just Sam and I and Sam.
It's going to be real.
Sam and me. Ben Kelly was going to be here. Unfortunately, he had to drop out on us last minute. He had a commitment he had forgotten about. Mm-hmm. So, no Ben tonight. Just the two of us.
We can make it if we try.
Totally make it if we try.
Should one of us impersonate Ben as well?
Oh, that's difficult. Ben is a unique creature.
It's true. True story.
Not so easy to impersonate the Ben Kelly. Anyway, Ben, if you're listening, we're missing you. We really, really, really are. It's been a pretty quiet week for technology news. Mm-hmm. We often start out the show saying that we probably shouldn't. Hey, we should just dive into it. But it has been a bit of a quiet week. A big news story today. People are up in arms at Vodacom for an announcement made about capping of internet services on their BlackBerry shaping
packages. Past a certain point.
Yes.
Yeah.
BlackBerry BIS. Now, we are, of course, sponsored by Vodacom, but that doesn't mean we'll hold back when we think there's something wrong with something that they're doing. I read Tech Central's story today. Duncan McLeod ran a very good story, getting Vodacom's side of the story on what was happening here. And Andries Delport from Vodacom was talking about the fact that they have had some serious abuse on their with BIS subscribers on the Vodacom network.
Yeah, they were saying something like 95% of all the traffic is coming from 5% of the users or something like that.
Yeah. Which is not an ideal situation. Now, a lot of users will go, well, that's not my problem. That's your problem. Just fix it.
I was clever enough to find a way to use 4 gigs every month.
And, of course, then Vodacom will come back and say, but this is us fixing it.
Yeah.
So there you go. Now, I've heard stories because there are a number of apps available that will help you get around tethering on your BlackBerry and pretty much enable you to do anything on your computer via your BlackBerry account. And of course, the way BlackBerry works on these networks is it uses a different APN from your other devices that are connecting. So, for example, I think on Vodacom, the generic APN is just called Internet. They have an iPhone-specific APN because they're doing visual voicemail and other things. But BlackBerry uses a specific APN, and of course, things go through the BIS server unless you have a BES server running within your organization, in which case it goes via that. And then there's this compression that happens on all of the data that flows through that connection as well.
So that's the thing that's interesting to me because, I've never had a BlackBerry, but from what I've heard from everyone, that compression is quite dramatic. So, I mean, 100 megs of data probably translates into a lot more in BlackBerry land than it does anywhere else, right?
Yeah, definitely. But now, there's this software, and I had listeners on 5FM telling me how to do it. I can't remember the name of the software, but it's an app you load on your BlackBerry, and then there's software you run on your computer, and it basically allows you to rate the BIS account. Now, the reason why networks like Vodacom and MTN can provide you with unlimited BIS at 60 Rand a month is because of that compression and their agreement with BlackBerry and all the rest of it. So it kind of breaks their entire model if somebody manages to get around it.
Yeah, fair enough. I see this side of the story. I mean, if it's between it's lucrative and it's sustainable for them to run it while shaping people who go over 100 megs, or they can't offer that, then of the two. I mean, the question is, could you realistically use more than 100 megs if you weren't trying to kind of get around it and be a little bit nefarious? But I mean, just an average heavy user who's kind of downloading a lot of big emails and stuff like that, could you realistically go over it?
Not
in a
really.
month with the compression?
I think you'd have. I mean, if you were doing legitimate things on your BlackBerry, browsing the web, reading email, and that sort of thing, then you should get away with 100 megs quite easily. I'd imagine most of the things that would push you over that limit are things that aren't included with your BIS package anyway.
Yeah.
So this is a contentious one, and something that I definitely need to do more investigating into.
I suppose the big question, of course, is that one about legitimate usage. Like, BIS and RIM have decided this is the legitimate use in Vodacom and all of them. But, if I'm a clever web user and I find a way to get more out of your service, am I using it illegitimately, or am I being really smart about it?
Yeah, it's certainly against your terms of service. I'm quite sure about that. See what the chat room's saying about it. I'm sure they're not too much love for
I still can't
for
get in
Vodacom.
chat room. It's not that I don't love you.
We're having a problem with the chat room, or you are.
Yeah.
What, are you trying to access it via the web or
Yes.
with an IRC client?
No, via the web.
Yeah, we sometimes have problems with the widget integration. If you use a dedicated IRC client, that's the best way to chat with us.
Try this guy.
Yeah, if you get MIRC on Windows or Colloquy on Mac or something like that, it's za.shadowfire.org. And then you should be able to get in without having to use the web widget. But yes, Vodacom BlackBerry shaped. And I wonder if other operators aren't going to start doing this as well.
Yeah. I mean, I'm kind of amazed that they've managed to offer sort of uncapped browsing for this long to begin with, when otherwise data is as expensive as it is. And they're already saying that, Hater is losing money on their deals and all of that. So it's interesting.
Yeah, definitely. I was just looking through more of the reasoning. I see they say 100 megabytes. Okay, that's what it equates to if you're tweeting or Facebooking. But they say due to the compression on BlackBerry, 100 megabytes per month goes a long way. And it'll cover, 3,000 mails. I'm looking for firm stats on how much it compresses.
Mails a day.
I think, if I remember correctly, their compression was really good. Like 100 megs would get you what you would ordinarily would equate to about 250 megs of ordinary browsing and internet and stuff.
So the question is, I mean, I know that this is in no way what's happened, and there's a lot of boy crying wolf sort of going on. I don't think it's that big a deal, but if it wasn't significantly cheaper anymore to get the data bundles with the BlackBerry, I wonder if we'd still see the same kind of sales numbers for BlackBerry in this country that we have been. That is the question.
Good question. I think definitely, a lot of the success that BlackBerry's enjoyed in South Africa has been due to the fact that for 60 Rand or 65 Rand a month, you get unlimited, in inverted commas,
although I wonder
browsing
now if people are so used to BlackBerry that they could never move. I mean, if people I see people talking, specifically corporate people, they go up to their friends and say, so have you got a BlackBerry? And, so I can get your BBM number first, not can I get your phone number so I can SMS you or your email address.
Get your BlackBerry pin.
And get your get you on BBM. So
yeah, I mean, it's firmly entrenched in corporate South Africa. It's gone a long way with students, for example, school kids, or it's a very aspirational brand.
Absolutely.
People tend to be more emotional about the BlackBerry brand than most other smartphones.
Yeah, it's the Student Village survey. That's it. They surveyed all the varsity students around the country, and I think it was half of them said they really wanted a BlackBerry more than any other phone. Yeah, which was interesting. And that was about a year ago now, so already then.
Look, there's no doubt they've captivated the South African market. The question is whether they can redeem themselves in the North American market. And it's interesting how the strategy's been completely different.
Yeah.
So in South Africa, they've gone for low price point. They've gone for sort of the cheaper handsets have been the biggest sellers. So the 8520, for example, give you an unbeatable value offering, because if you're using an iPhone or an Android device, you're a big Android user.
Yeah.
You definitely do chomp through a hell of a lot of bandwidth every month.
At the end of every month, man. I look at the bill. I'm like, oh man.
But in the North American market, that's not a differentiator. You can get unlimited plans for anything. Same in Europe.
Although it seems to, I mean, there've been those big uproars over the last couple of weeks about, the sort of uncapped data plans, the unlimited data plans in the US have all of a sudden started being throttled as well. So I don't know, maybe the holiday, the honeymoon was too sweet.
Possibly. Yeah. Well, we'll see. I mean, we've seen a lot of the new handsets. I've got the 9900 in the studio tonight. Of course, BlackBerry, another sponsor of the show. And it's nice. It's got the touchscreen, which I find quite handy. because just the new operating system is geared towards it. So it's quite, you just intuitively sort of touch the screen when you...
Although I've been wanting to touch the touchscreens of BlackBerries for the last 3 years, even
Well, there
when
you
you
go,
really
Sam.
couldn't.
Now you can.
Thank you. Oh, yay, dream come true.
But, looking at the new devices, I must say, I'm not sure that it's enough to get them back to where they were in markets that they've lost, like North America.
No.
I think it certainly helps them sustain their momentum in markets like South Africa and Nigeria. And, of course, we're all waiting for next year to see these new QNX-based devices come out. Because the playbook... I've actually started carrying my playbook around a lot more. I'm still waiting for them to get up to speed with applications,
apps,
and I'm hoping now that the SDK is available that'll happen. But QNX is, and we've said it on the show before, it's a magnificent operating system. It really is very good.
Yeah.
It just hasn't gotten that traction from developers because they've been a little bit late with the SDK. Not a little bit, really late.
And there's
with the
also,
SDK.
there's been no support for South African app developers from the international community, because who's developing apps for BlackBerry? So.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, in the past, developing for BlackBerry's been a nightmare. It really has been. They've been trying to change it, make it easier, open up the platform more. They've incorporated all sorts of developer goodness, but it's late in the game for that to be happening.
Takes time, and the fact as well is that you just don't see geeks carrying around BlackBerries apart from technology journalists who are reviewing them.
True.
So.
True that.
There is also that.
That started to change, though. Now that it's available through Vodacom, I know Vodacom's got exclusivity on it at the moment.
Yeah.
We saw Telkom Business, for example. They launched their mobile offerings, and they said that they would have the playbook. I'm not sure if that... They'll have to wait for Vodacom's exclusivity to end before they can actually get them into hands. But now that the operators have picked it up in South Africa and are starting to make it available, I have started to see them popping up all over the place.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I haven't seen any business people carrying them around, sort of in
I've
client
seen two.
meetings and things. Really?
All of two, yes.
All of two?
Look, there's no doubt that in South Africa, once again, a market where BlackBerry's done a lot better than it has elsewhere in the world. I mean, I was chatting to the Vodacom guys at one of their events recently. They sell more BlackBerry smartphones in South Africa than any other Vodafone market.
Wow.
So in the whole Vodafone group globally, South Africa ships more devices
that
than...
still surprises me, even knowing what I know about South Africans' BlackBerries. That's
so
amazing.
Yes, it hasn't done fantastic. The playbook hasn't done fantastically in other markets, but I think in South Africa, just given the brand, given the way that South Africans think about these brands, perhaps from a less technical perspective, it's gonna pick up with at least some of the market. That's for sure.
Oh, interesting question.
Yeah. Now, of course, we always get this discussion coming up in the chat room when we talk about sponsors and whether or not we hold back. And I mean, we must say again that we have an arrangement with our sponsors where it's no holds barred. If we're talking about Vodacom or BlackBerry, the fact that they sponsor the show doesn't mean anything to us. If there's something that needs to be said about them, it'll be said. You can rest assured. We carry their advertising content and the things that they want us to talk about. In those inserts, but outside of that, there's no holds barred.
There's not a torture room beneath the studio where after the show we get punished based on the amount of negative.
And in fact, I won't mention names, but one of the sponsors of the show said to me, "Look, if we need you to remain independent and vocal. If you're going to put on kid gloves around us, then we don't want to sponsor the show."
Yeah.
That's how serious they are about us maintaining our editorial integrity.
That's
So
good to hear.
if we think a BlackBerry device is pants, we'll say so. If we think Vodacom's done the wrong thing by shaping a service, we'll say so. In the case of the BlackBerry shaping, I honestly don't know that there were many other options for Vodacom. Perhaps 100 megabytes is too restrictive. Look, one likes to think that they did some investigation and research into this before they just thumbsucked a figure.
No, I mean, I think you can trust them.
They'll hurt their business if they make your BlackBerry unusable, and then you're going to stop using Vodacom, and then it's not going to be good for them. So one likes to think that they did some research on this and made the right decision.
I do think a lot of it is just fear and misunderstanding, because 100 megabytes doesn't sound like a lot, but it's 100 megabytes in BlackBerry land. It's not normal 100 megabytes. So.
Anyway, enough about Vodacom and BlackBerry. We will, of course, discuss them again later on in the show where we do our sponsor announcements. Brettski's in the chat room. I see Brett Haggard. He's in the States at the moment at the Microsoft Build event. And the excitement, of course, from Brett's perspective is that he gets to see Windows 8 and play with it.
That is exciting.
Well, is it? We've seen the screenshots of Windows 8 and it looks like Windows 7. The more important aspects of Windows 8, of course, are in the background. The fact that they can... for example.
The really fast booting and
Yeah.
stuff like that. Yeah.
But also that it scales to tablet form factors a lot better. It's got that ARM processor support. It's going to lend itself better to touch interfaces, for example. But I must say the desktop version and the screenshots we've seen, very similar to Windows 7 in a lot of ways, which isn't a bad thing. I like the interface on Windows 7.
It's not bad, yeah.
One thing that I just not sure about is that they've taken that ribbon concept from Office and they've put it everywhere.
I know.
And
Yeah.
while I like what Microsoft's been doing with the interfaces recently, I'm not the biggest fan of the ribbon.
No, it's as someone who spends all day in PowerPoint and Word, shoot me in the face. The ribbon it does save you some time. I think most of the time. I'd like a little bit more flexibility with it. I'd like to sort of semi-permanently be able to shut down certain tabs I'm never going to use. And it annoys me that Windows in general kind of doesn't give you room to tweak that kind of thing. But honestly, when I'm in Windows Explorer, what do I want from a ribbon? I know keyboard shortcuts. I don't need to click the copy button, please, for God's sake.
Although, as much as I dislike the ribbon as a concept and the way it looks, it's quite practical and functional. But, so are spades. It's
not exciting.
Not very exciting.
I think, obviously the thing is that all the sort of UX testing that they've done, the listening labs and all of that are probably with the average Windows user who probably does need to click on the copy and paste button on the ribbon and does actually use the commands from the toolbar a lot more than a power user does.
Yeah.
So, and obviously you have to design for those people. It's annoying that you lose half your friggin' screen space. And specifically if you're working on a really small netbook sort of device, I imagine it becomes a problem.
Yeah. Now, my theory with the ribbon and when they incorporate it into Word is that if you need an interface like that, it means you've made things unnecessarily complicated to begin with. That's the feeling I get.
Although, when I went back to OpenOffice for a while...
it's terrible.
I know, it's so bad! It's like, wow, step back to
everything
the year 2000.
In me, as somebody who grew up with Linux, who was compiling my own kernels in varsity, everything in me wants to love OpenOffice, but I can't. It's yucky.
But honestly, it would take a UX designer like a week to make that thing much better. How has no one done it yet, honestly?
And when did making documents, the simplest thing you can do on a computer, become so complicated?
No, I know. And it's totally counterintuitive and bless it. And as well, like I wish I could live with OpenOffice, but I just can't. Or LibreOffice now, I suppose we should talk about.
Yeah.
But and it's just fugly, let's be honest.
Yes. So when we get Bretsky back on the show, I'm sure he'll be back next week, then we can talk more about Windows 8 and his experiences with it.
I'd be interested to hear, yeah.
I think next year's going to be a big year for Microsoft.
I think it might be a bit of a make or break year, to be honest. I'm very interested to see how the Nokia phones perform, specifically in emerging markets. I'm interested to see Windows 8 and there's a lot that they're doing. I'm interested to see how, if the Nokia thing does take off, how a service like Xbox Live and Zune, what's going to happen to them? Are they going to finally become relevant?
They're part of that ecosystem. You know, I think Zune, for example, will pretty much get sucked into Windows Phone and absorbed by it. Xbox is always going to have that standalone console play.
Sure.
And I like what they're doing with Xbox Live so far, where there's that integration and lots of potential for games developers to do cool things, I've always had this idea, right, of an RPG, like World of Warcraft, for example, where you can take your character along with you on your phone and you can do training with them offline.
That's very cool.
So perhaps they're quests that are isolated to the phone. You could run around, do some training, build up some stats with your character while not being connected to Realm servers. So there's potential for that sort of thing to be done now with Xbox Live and Windows Phone. The problem is that potential means nothing. I mean, there's potential for your iPhone to do amazing things with your iPad, over Wi-Fi or Bluetooth or whatever. But not many developers are using it.
No, of course not. So I'm just trying to find, it just occurred to me that there was this game that someone made. It was a little bit World of Warcraft inspired, but it was built over the grid, and it had location-based elements to it. So you could go on these quests, and if you were in Joburg in the real world, then you were in the Joburg part of the game automatically, but you could travel around. I can't remember what it was called. Sorry, there was a total...
You must find
Brain
it.
went on tangent, and now OCD has kicked in, and I need to remember
That's
what it was okay. called.
It'll happen.
Yeah,
If
happens to
Ben
the
was
best of
here,
us.
we could make him Google it.
I know.
Ben's good with Google.
Yeah. The grid, man, what would it be? Oh man. Sorry, I loved that idea, but it was about 2-3 years ahead of its time.
Yeah,
you
it
know?
is a cool idea.
Yeah.
So yeah, Microsoft's ecosystem coming together nicely. We've said it on the show before. Their share price has been in a coma for the last 10 years, and now we're starting to pick up. So the analysts think that there's something in this. And of course, next month will be a big month because it's Nokia World, and we expect the veil to come off of their devices.
Yeah.
They're taking massive contingents of press to that event from around the world.
Really.
From South Africa, myself, Brett, Toby, Stephen Ambrose is going, and others too. I think they're
all the cool kids
pulling out all the stops, making sure we're all there when Stephen Ellop walks onto stage and goes, "Look what I did!"
Cha-ching! Well, I mean, the photos that have been sort of semi-leaked, from a hardware perspective, it doesn't look any different to the other phones that they kind of have been launching. But it will be very interesting to see how it feels and to actually touch it and stroke it.
I wonder. Imagine if Nokia sort of unveiled the Windows 8 tablet at that event.
Oh my god! Just like surprise!
The world's first. But I mean, think of it from a timing perspective. Windows 8 is starting to come together. It's certainly ready for that kind of development with a partner that has the level of interface with Microsoft that Nokia has.
That would be very interesting.
Nokia has the hardware beef to make something like that happen.
This is a bit of wishful thinking, but it would be amazing.
Yeah. When I interviewed Stephen Ellop in Dubai earlier this year, one of the things I asked him was, is Nokia working on a tablet? And he said, look, we've got design teams in Nokia that are working on the most amazing things all the time. He says, this is him speaking. He said, I said to them, I don't want to see just another tablet. He said, there's so many of these things in the market. He didn't mention the iPad by name, but he said, the leader has managed to capture the market, and we've seen a lot of competitors. He says, but I'm not seeing anything meaningful.
Yeah,
I'm not seeing must-have from any of these devices.
Oh, that's interesting.
And so, he said that he told his designers in Nokia that they mustn't show him a tablet unless it's something different, something useful, something that isn't just a Me Too.
And
I think a tablet running full Windows 8 isn't just a Me Too if it's the first to market.
No,
that's
it would
for
be
sure.
quite interesting. And yeah, I mean, one wonders if Nokia would have their developing markets hat on or their sort of Western markets hat on when they develop that, because developing a really low end, beautiful, functional tablet could be a very interesting thing as well.
Yeah. All right.
Speaking about tablets, there's the Amazon one that there have been some rumors flying around and kind of initial speculations about how different their version of Android is going to be, which are sounding quite interesting.
Yes, definitely. Let's talk about the Amazon tablet in a moment, but first let's talk again about our sponsors Vodacom. This time in the way that they want us to. Vodacom Business, of course, is picking up speed. Lots of activity around that particular unit within the Vodacom group, and looking at the connectivity needs of their customers. So, for example, business customers, and they say whether at the SME level or enterprise level, simply want a quality service that is reliable, robust, and available to meet their specific needs, delivering cost-effective value. Of course, there's the increased move to mobility within enterprise customers, and they continue to drive the penetration of broadband mobile services in local business markets. Lots of challenges. We all know what they are because we're the people that Vodacom's trying to sort out with connectivity. Yeah. And so Vodacom Business has been conducting a lot of network rollout investigation into the market and trying to solve those requirements. Fiber and last mile, of course. Fiber infrastructure is costly, with over 40% of expenses attributable to civil works. For example, trenching, laying cable, backfilling and restoring the road surface, making holes all over South Africa, which I think we're all starting to get tired of. When we started the show, actually, I must tell you, we wanted to do these bumper stickers that said "I break for cable," right? Because while it is a pain watching cable go into the ground, and while we don't like less road to drive on, the geek in us goes, yes, more fiber.
No, I know. And I mean, that fiber, no one's going to hopefully need to fiddle with it for many, many, many years to come, one hopes. So it was a good thing.
So, Vodacom is being proactive there, but cost-effective methods of connectivity are being explored, they say, for the delivery of quad-play services to small business in the residential markets. Now, I really want to know more about that, and when I speak to the Vodacom guys again, I will ply them for details, because that sounds very promising.
I'm going to be a bit blind here. What is quad play? What is number 4?
Yeah, well, I suppose you've got fixed line, you've got mobile, you've got television.
Yeah.
And what's the fourth one?
What is the fourth one?
Well, we'll have to wait and see.
Heard of triple play, but not quad play.
Then there's rural areas, of course, where Vodacom has embarked on a strategy to put the power of the internet into people's hands, along with their payoff line. The strategy is supported by the plan to provide data everywhere they have voice, and to provide a differentiated customer experience in urban, suburban, rural, and deep rural areas. And then there's the future broadband growth, of course, a mix of wireless technologies such as HSPA Plus and LTE, as well as fiber-based on the PON technology, will be critical in satisfying future requirements. So lots of activity around there, and of course we are very, very grateful to Vodacom to have them as a sponsor on the show.
Quad play.
And we'll keep you up to speed with what they're up to.
Sorry, quad play, according to Vodafone's website, is includes home phone as the fourth one.
Okay.
Like a landline, like the
well, we
granny
said
thing
fixed
that
line, but I suppose fixed line data, fixed line voice,
broadband,
mobile
home
voice,
phone,
and television.
There we go.
Very cool.
Ta-da.
Telcom could have. We've said this how many times before? They had Telcom.
Coulda, woulda, shoulda.
Telcom Business Mobile will be interesting though.
Yeah.
Because that kind of brings
the one thing that
the
Telcom
dual
was
play
ever
to
good
business.
at. Yeah.
Yeah. Look, I think if you're an existing Telcom customer, having them be able to provide you with your mobile connectivity as well is something that a lot of the bigger, perhaps public sector organizations would be quite interested in.
Probably.
Yeah, so let's talk about the Amazon tablet. I'm getting more and more excited about this thing.
I just want to see what Amazon can do by totally ripping apart the Android platform. I'm happy that someone has, and I want to see how far you can reimagine it.
Yes, indeed. And, as we know with Linux, there are all sorts of amazing things that could happen here. I don't know. I'm wondering if the positives of Amazon forking Android and working on it themselves, and all of the development that will require, if that really does offset all of the negatives there would be in being just another Android player. But I want to see this thing now. I want to touch it. I want to feel it.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously. I mean, you can just see Amazon's sort of strategy having unveiling retrospectively. And the last sort of year, all the moves that they've been making. The App Store and more digital delivery means for media generally.
Yeah.
Because having it's something that only Apple has done well to date. That really deep integration of all of your media and your stores for media into the platform. That could be really exciting.
Yeah.
Seen differently.
Yeah. Somebody needs to break this sort of stalemate with content providers at the moment and bring these services to the rest of the world.
Yeah.
It is inexcusable that in the year 2011 something like Netflix can't be global.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
It's true.
It's not right.
And
speculation that Amazon will sell this thing at a loss to begin with.
Really?
Yeah. And
intriguing.
of course come with a massive content player that'll help them compensate for that.
Yeah.
Movies, music, books.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting, just having experienced Amazon through, being a Kindle customer, how incredibly amazing their customer support is. And I believe they've just opened a customer support center in Cape Town now as well, which is extra win. But the fact that, if you drive over your Kindle with a motorbike while drunk or tripping on LSD, it's fine. They will replace it for you.
Yeah.
Because they want you to have the device, because they're hoping that they're going to make money off the books, which in my case is kind of naive. Sorry, Amazon. But that idea of the hardware is just by the by. We're not making money off the hardware. It's just a platform on which we can deliver you incredible content.
Right.
So
they've managed to get the Kindle down to an amazing price point, so like $115 at the moment.
I think it went down to $100 on special about a month ago, which just blows the mind.
The 7-inch form factor, and I'm just looking at the playbook again. I wasn't convinced when I saw the Samsung Galaxy Tab because it just felt like a big phone, and I think the operating system had a lot to do with that.
Yeah.
I haven't seen any sort of really groundbreaking honeycomb tablets yet. I did see the 7.7-inch Galaxy Tab, an early version of it, and I quite liked that. It was very thin and light, but the Playbook works for me at 7 inches. The one killer app for me that's been missing, of course, is Kindle. Amazon hasn't developed Kindle for the Playbook yet, although we're told it's on the way. But I can imagine, 7 inches being a really good size to read on.
7 inches is usually big enough.
Yeah, because it's about the size of a paperback. It's light enough. I found the iPad screen 10 inches is just too big for lying in bed and reading a book.
That's the thing.
Even if you get the weight down, like the Samsung Galaxy Tab 10.1 is nice and light, but it's still not comfortable for reading, whereas this Playbook feels great as a sort of a book device.
And if you're a girl, it fits in your handbag, which is fantastic. If you are a boy and you have very deep pockets, I'm sure you'd find a way. With the Kindle, so at home, we have the DX as well as the Kindle 2. And I must say, though, I do sometimes feel like sitting there with the DX not only for graphic novels and that sort of thing, which is why we got that one. But there is something quite nice about having a more expansive page.
Yeah.
But only for reading. I think it's different with a proper tablet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And while the rest of the market is stuck suing each other's pants off, I think Amazon might be able to sneak in there with something different.
Let's hope. Yeah.
We shall wait and see. I tell you, the one thing I will miss, though, is e-ink, because that's the killer feature for me.
Sunshine and books and e-books. It's just the best.
And battery life that lasts forever, because they're not going to be able to do that with a capacitive touchscreen.
Although, I must say, I've kind of gotten so used to having 2 chargers or 3 chargers with me at various points throughout my day that I don't know if it would be that much of a problem anymore, because I'm trialing the HTC Flyer, and I'm carrying that around with me, so I'm charging that on my phone.
How do you find that device, by the way?
I really love it. In some ways, it's definitely flawed. It's really great if you like to doodle. So for artsy types, because it has a really lovely stylus, and I find it's perfect for meetings because it's very small. You can sit there with the little stylus taking notes instead of sort of tapping away and typing.
And how are you finding the Evernote handwriting recognition?
Pretty good.
Pseudo paste together thing that they've done with HTC.
Pretty good. The notebook, I think is the Frankenstein that they've come up. I
live on Evernote, so I really liked what they'd done with an Evernote client for the Flyer.
Yeah, and I'm so glad that they integrated it so deeply. I love that every note I make is just instantly backed up. Yeah. And Evernote is one of the best web apps that we've ever seen ever, and it already does so many incredible things, and it's great to have that as such a native part of the device. It's fun because you can take notes on anything, but it just takes a screenshot, and then you can write on web pages or whatever. So it's nice for annotating stuff, and it kind of backs up immediately, and syncs.
Yeah,
I'm a fan. I don't know if I would recommend it to everybody. I'd recommend it to a certain kind of person who is really going to appreciate the stylus. Sure. If you're not using the stylus, it's not the best tablet. And some of the software is a little bit out of date, but generally not bad.
I loved the Evernote side of it and the note-taking side of it. It was the rest of it that didn't work so nicely for me. The battery life is terrible. It wasn't running Honeycomb. It's running, 2.2 or 2.3? 2.2.
I think.
Yeah. Don't know. Wasn't feeling it so much, and it was also a little bit expensive.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think if it was 2,500 rand cheaper, I would tell everyone to buy it, but it's not. It's 6-7 or something.
Yes.
Retail price.
If you're looking for an Evernote gadget, though, off you go. Very nice for that.
It's very nice.
So, talking about HTC, I see there's talk of them buying their own operating system. Buying their own mobile OS. Now, wouldn't it be interesting if they got WebOS, for example, and bought that from HP? Although, we must say again, it's not for sale, guys. HP said nothing about selling WebOS, unless I missed something.
No, that's what they said.
They said they were going to go into the licensing game with it.
What they didn't say, that's interesting.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, I don't know. Increasing fragmentation. It's probably a good thing.
Yeah. Do you think HTC is getting tired of the Android game and all of the patent fights that are going on around it?
What a difficult game to play. The latest, I think I heard that Apple's trying to block sales of the Galaxy Tab in Japan now, which is obviously a massive market.
Look, it's on like Donkey Kong. And it's focused on Samsung because Samsung is Apple's biggest threat in this game. They are the biggest player when it comes to Android devices. They are kicking ass and taking names in Europe, for example.
But how the Galaxy Tab, which they said was copied slavishly or whatever, is that much different to the HTC Flyer.
Well, it's not. But Samsung has the sales to make Apple worry.
No, sure, they've got the deep pockets, so it's worth suing them, yeah.
And look, Apple is involved in cases with HTC as well. But Samsung's their biggest threat, and they know it.
Yeah. Maybe, for that reason, if nothing else, maybe it's a good move to actually differentiate yourself, because differentiating on hardware has become harder and harder, and I actually think very few people care about the hardware, to be honest. It's really interesting if you look at the advertising for Samsung and for for HTC and all the Android handset manufacturers. They all advertise based on Android apps, which seems incredibly stupid in a lot of ways. Like, all the Samsung ads talk about Google navigation, and they talk about all those things that, hey, you can get everywhere else on any other Android device.
Yes.
So it is a tricky game.
Yeah. It's just a pity that it comes down to these patent lawsuits. Companies like Apple are compelled to do it. They can lose patents if they haven't demonstrably defended them.
Yeah.
And it just creates this environment where everybody's suing everybody else.
It's ridiculous.
And have massive legal teams going, listen, guys, you either sue or you lose your patents.
No, of course. It's interesting to note that they kind of haven't done anything in South Africa yet, because we have an incredibly outdated patent law system. So, I think that you can secure patents in this country for much longer than you can in most other markets. So if they did defend it here, it could potentially be very lucrative for them. I just don't think they've kind of thought of that tiny little place at the bottom of Africa.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If we had a market that they cared about.
Exactly. But it's interesting.
Man.
It's such a strange game.
That the Samsung Galaxy Tab 7.7 that they're not going to sell in the US at all anymore. Look out for that if you're looking for a 7-inch tablet. That is definitely the best 7-inch Android tablet I've seen. I don't know if it's definitely better than the Playbook on the app scale. I don't know if the interface is better. In fact, I know it is.
A slab of paper is better than the Playbook on the app scale. Sorry.
Ouch.
Sorry.
Wow. They
didn't take my bitchy pills this morning.
Yeah. With this SDK available, I really hope we've discussed this already. But I want this device to be useful. I really do.
Just because it is pretty and it does feel good.
Pretty, and I like QNX.
Yeah.
Anyway. We shall have to wait and see.
Indeedle.
All right, so that's HTC. Maybe getting its own mobile OS, maybe not. Syndicate is being reborn. EA says they're working on it. They've been working on it for the past couple of years, in fact.
That's interesting.
Yeah. And Starbreeze Studios, their CEO, Mikhail Nermak, said it's been a great experience working with EA. Can't imagine that's true, but he had to say it. And an amazing opportunity for us to use our expertise in the first-person shooter and action genres to bring back and reignite the signature action espionage game of Syndicate. I must be honest, I don't remember Syndicate being amazing.
No, not at all, but I have heard people kind of talking about it for ages.
It was not my best.
No, but EA Games has had a very interesting couple of weeks, because for months kind of chasing after all of these casual social gaming companies to swallow up and buy, they've stumbled into casual social gaming nirvana in The Sims Social, which has just overtaken Farmville in weekly active users, not monthly active. Yeah, it's now second to Cityville.
I'm looking at Syndicate screenshots, by the way.
Oh, it looks nasty. So
I'm not sure if Kyle's on my screen or not.
Oh, it's a Bullfrog game. I loved Bullfrog games. They were so good in the 90s.
Syndicate. Kapow! Sorry, you were saying.
No, that was it. Sims Social. You just tuned out when I said The Sims.
Not at all,
it's such a girl's game. I'll be the first to admit.
Yeah, but you're a sadist. I heard that episode. I wasn't there that week, but I heard you talking about the nasty things that you like
to all my Sims. Yeah, no.
Sis, man.
No, now I'm just living out my romantic fantasies through all of my friends. It's slightly less interesting than murder, but fun times. Yeah, I find The Sims is a very interesting phenomenon. The fact that it's still, if you look at the UK bestseller charts, it's the top 5 of the top 10. How many years after The Sims first was sold? And it's incredible. They've tapped into something amazing and dark in the human psyche.
It's a crazy time for gaming here. I remember when there would be sort of 1 or 2 big game releases every year.
Yeah.
And now it's just incredible. Everybody's playing Deus Ex at the moment. Deus Ex, I don't know. I still haven't played it, I'm ashamed to say. I just haven't had time.
Yeah. Too many other things to
Oh,
do. Too many
man.
Sims to kill.
Not enough time for games. I need to restructure my life.
Yeah. Get rid of some children. And
But what else have we... I mean, so this year alone has been incredible. LA Noire, Deus Ex.
I haven't played LA Noire yet, and that's
There's a
the
new
one that
Battlefield
sounds
on the way.
incredible.
Black Ops was this year,
Yeah.
wasn't it?
Yeah, it was early. Yeah.
Etc. etc. Whereas before it would have
Good
been
year for
like
gaming. I think we should all just quit our jobs
Grand
and
Theft Auto 3, the end.
yeah, with extra boobies.
But yes, quit our jobs and play games all day.
Exactly.
Definitely.
Yeah. I spent a good half a day chatting to the dudes from O Games last week. They make really cool little casual online flash games.
So that's one of MultiChoice's
yeah. It
things.
kind of belonged to a little bit higher up in the Naspers chain. They were kind of a subsection of Media 24.
Right.
And then they were bought. And they're just really cool guys. I mean, they were talking about creating this giant Pac-Man out of Post-its on the side of their building. And some of the stuff that they're working on I actually find quite exciting, and I was glad to hear that South Africa is developing interesting games, even if they're on the kind of Zynga scale rather than the EA Games scale.
Yes.
But it's cool. It's good.
Definitely. So let's take a break to talk about BlackBerry. Because we haven't already said BlackBerry 4 trillion times on the show. But they want us to tell you about the new BlackBerry 9900 smartphone. Yay!
Cha-ching.
Which is now available in South Africa through Vodacom. If you're watching the video version of the show, I'm holding it up right now. It's the thinnest BlackBerry to date. I quite like this little metal band that they got going around
it is slightly more hardcore.
Yes.
I can't quite imagine slapping a pink cover on it, although someone will with
10
diamantes.
10.5 millimeters thick. It's also got this amazing big keyboard. It reminds me a lot of the keyboard on the original Bold 9000. Very functional keyboard. Plus, of course, now the touchscreen. And they've got this new liquid graphics technology, combining a dedicated high-performance graphic processor with a blazingly fast CPU, 1.2 gigahertz, if I remember correctly, and stunning high-resolution display to deliver a highly responsive touch interface with incredibly fast and smooth graphics. And I must say, as we said earlier on in the show, that the touchscreen is very nice and also very functional. So look out for it. That's the Bold 9900. They've also launched BlackBerry App World 3.0, which is now available. It's got a sleek new design, some new channels, apps, games, and themes now have their own channels, so users can get to what they want even faster. There's also the introduction of My Account that makes managing BBID and payment options easy with direct access to all account information from the home screen. There's a new My World feature, gives users a streamlined view of their apps and status, and now at a glance, in addition to seeing which apps are installed and uninstalled, users can manage subscription content and services too, which is quite useful. There's also app social sharing, evolved app details screen, more search options, and a bunch of other goodness in BlackBerry App World 3, and of course on OS 7 now, which is running on the 9900. I must say, very similar to OS 6, but some welcome small tweaks that they've added in.
Cool. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, playing around on the mini touchscreen, it does very much just feel like it's the same as last year's phones. I don't know, but I've never really become intimate with a BlackBerry phone, so. Yeah.
Look, if you love BlackBerry, I think the 9900's for you. And of course, we are very happy to have them as sponsors on the ZA Tech Show.
Indeed.
Stephen Ambrose last week had the 9860, I think, is the GS. I always get confused
because the slidey one.
Yeah, that's not the slidey one. This is the touchscreen only torch.
Oh, okay.
So there's the 9850 and the 9860. One is CDMA and one is GSM. I think the 9860 is the CDMA one and the 9850 is the GSM 3G one. Not sure. Anyway.
Was he impressed?
He is very impressed. But he did say on the show last week it wasn't coming to South Africa. And I asked BlackBerry and they said it is very definitely coming to South Africa. They just can't say when yet and from who.
Interesting.
But it is on the way. So if you liked the look of that on last week's show, then look out for it.
Interesting. Some of the other news that's come out this week that it started to become interesting when this was first announced. I don't think it really sunk in how meaningful this could be, but the Facebook Music platform, which is launching next month, they've started talking about some of the features that may or may not be launched with it. So, I mean, we've known from the beginning that they're going to launch in partnership with Spotify and some of the big sort of radio streaming services. But one of the things that hadn't occurred to me, which they were talking about this week, was scrobbling. So that thing that Last FM has always done very well, but you've had to do it with, installing a little application or whatever. I mean, that could be quite a powerful way to actually sync up your online social profile and music that you enjoy, and potentially when it comes to recommendations and kind of a friend-driven engine around music, that could be quite interesting.
Definitely. Like what Ping should have been, but isn't.
But just isn't. Yeah, exactly.
Ping is full of Tessuck.
Yeah. Or what Last FM should have been, but there's no one on there.
Once again, man, I hate harping on about content, but
Yeah.
can we please have Spotify in South Africa?
Please.
For flip's sake.
Now, this is probably very old news to everyone else, but everyone I know who's had a tablet, an iPad, has obviously had it's just, same thing.
Yes,
the tablet has had it on a US App Store account.
Yes.
And for the first time, a couple of weeks ago, I picked up one that was on a South African account, and it belonged to an older family friend of mine, and I wanted to install some apps for her, so I was telling her about Angry Birds. I was like, let me just go install Angry Birds. You can't get Angry Birds in South Africa on the App Store. You can't get anything on the South African App Store. I was absolutely horrified.
Well, in fairness, the South African App Store isn't terrible. Everything except the games is pretty much there.
But what else are you going to use a tablet for? You're not telling me you didn't take it to meetings or something.
It's stupid that there are no games. Now, we know why there are no games. Apple wants to do things above board and refuses to pay licensing fees to the FPB.
For the racing,
whereas I know for a fact that other manufacturers, and I won't necessarily mention names, but a lot of the other guys have gone, well, we're just going to sell apps in South Africa until somebody busts us.
And no one will care, yeah.
So, so Apple, you know what I've done?
Yeah.
Is I want to show companies that sort of invest in South Africa and putting infrastructure down and launching their services that we're worth it. So I transitioned my Xbox Live account, for example. I made it a South African account. I regret it because it's pants, and Microsoft deserves a punch in the face for the cuck job
fly
they've
you
done on
over
Xbox
there.
Live.
Fly you over and let them.
No, it's terrible. There's still only like a couple of themes, I think.
It's ridiculous.
Anyway, let's not hop on about that.
Yeah.
But what I've done with Apple and with iTunes now is I have two App Store accounts. I've got my South African one and my American one. So if I want a game or something else that's not in the South African store, I'll use that. But I make a point of using my South African store account for everything else so that Apple sees sales locally.
Fair enough.
Because the dumbasses obviously need help seeing that there's a market down here.
Twitch.
And that if you put the rest of the world together.
Yeah.
Anyway, look, it's debatable whether Apple or the FPB are more to blame. I think they should
True.
share it.
But I was actually horrified because I hang around with geeks and not many normal people who have iPads. I actually didn't realize how bad it was. It was,
Yeah, it's not on.
Ridiculous.
Which reminds me, I was meaning to buy Real Player. Apparently, it's amazing.
Real Player for the
Use
iPad.
existing Apple ID. I'm not
Real
going to do this
Player's
now because we're doing a show.
Real Player's always been really good, though.
Sorry?
Real Player has always been very good.
Sorry, this is Good Player.
Oh, Good Player.
What did I say?
You said Real Player.
No, hell no. Same guys who make Good Reader, except that Good Player will play anything. MKV, AVI.
Is it a good player?
Watch all my home videos. It's a very good player. Maybe I'll make that my
No
pick
one
of
wants
the
to
week.
hear about your naughty home videos, really.
I don't have naughty home videos.
No, sure you don't.
It's like, people in my backyard having briars and stuff. Apple's 73% UK tablet market share set to fall. I've just seen pop up as a news story, not particularly exciting one. And while we're doing forward-looking statements, the IDC says mobile internet use to pass PCs by 2015. You've got to love analysts. Really?
No,
wow.
but they've been saying that for ages. Well, in South Africa, I mean, that's friggin' old news.
More users will access the internet wirelessly via a mobile device than from a wired Ethernet connection. And it expects the number of people using PCs to slowly decline.
It sounds more true when you say it in that voice.
Deep.
Have you seen that video of Arthur C. Clarke in 1964 predicting what the future would look like?
No.
It is incredible because he
must.
friggin' nails it. He talks about how you'll have a workforce that doesn't have to commute to the office because they can work from anywhere. They'll be connected to any person anywhere in the world without even knowing where exactly they are. He was so ahead of the times, old Arthur C. What a man.
Totally was.
Yeah, I'll
a
take
mighty
the link
good
for
man.
y'all.
Yes. I love looking back at predictions of the future being where we live now. And seeing the things that they didn't get right. So, for example, they'll spot the technology stuff, but they won't spot the cultural stuff. Magnus Lindqvist was here, the author of Everything We Know Is Wrong, and I can't remember his second book's name. Anyway, he was in South Africa last week at an event I was emceeing, And he had this fantastic ad he had managed to find from the 50s, right? And some magazine had run this article about the future and what will happen. And one of their predictions was that everybody would have a helicopter and that helicopters would become a lot smaller, a lot more compact. And then there's this fantastic artist's impression that was drawn up. So it's this cartoon of the woman standing on the roof holding the kid's hand in her pajamas, with her hair in curlers, and dad in his suit going to work in the helicopters.
Because men will have helicopters, but heaven forbid women will be working.
Like, we will all have helicopters and commute to work using these remarkable flying machines.
Hilarious.
But nobody had thought that maybe women would be working too.
That's hilarious. Well, they did. although one of the great kind of dreams about the future came true quite recently when Nike released the Marty McFly shoe.
Yes.
Hallelujah.
Oh man, that's another good game on the iPad. Back to the Future.
Is there what do you do in the Back to the Future game?
It's a point and click adventure game, pretty much.
Cool.
And once again, with my schedule, I haven't been playing too much.
Oh.
Am I turning into one of those people who talks about my schedule? God, someone
only a
shoot
little bit.
me.
Yeah, at least you're not name dropping all the people you were meeting. While you were
Goodness
so busy.
gracious! Sorry, guys.
There's hope for you yet.
I haven't played as much Back to the Future, so I would have liked to. Is what I meant to say.
My deep dark secret is that I've watched almost no movies, and I watched Back to the Future for the very first time this year.
Yes,
which is pretty horrible.
You've never seen Back to the Future before?
This year. No, I've not seen anything. It's
How badly do you want a DeLorean?
Dad, do you remind me what a DeLorean is?
The
car,
yeah.
of course, yeah.
Which actually existed and was one of the worst flops in automotive
Did it have
history.
the funny doors? The real car?
Yes, yeah. It had the funny doors and all.
Cool.
And even though the movies made it look cool, they still didn't manage to sell any because they were absolutely rubbish. Or pants, which I think should be the name.
Pants. I think this is the word of today's show.
And then another great example is you watch Aliens.
Yeah.
And they have intergalactic travel and aliens bursting out of chests and everything.
Yeah.
But all the screens, the spaceship talks, but all the screens in the spaceship are monochrome CRT monitors.
That's amazing. That's another movie I saw for the first time this month, which
No!
was Predator. No, I had seen
Predator.
Alien, but I only saw Alien about a year ago. But I did watch Predator.
How old are you?
I'm catching up on the entire lost childhood. I was a very lame child. I played outside and had friends instead of sitting inside and being a geek.
Stop using 50s presenter man voice. All right. I mustn't shout. Shall we do our picks of the week?
Yes.
Let's. Do you have one this week, lady?
I have two. Because
Yeah.
I can never choose stuff. Choice number one. So you guys remember DeviantArt, that thing that was very cool when you were 18, and in between slashing your wrists in the shower, you'd kind of take a break and go and look at DeviantArt and feel all emo and stuff.
Yes, I remember that.
You remember that? Yeah.
I remember.
Everyone
I
went through
actually
that.
had a few things on there too.
Oh, cool. Well, some of it is still pretty fun.
I
too.
remember it
But
all.
they've got
I'm so old.
they've got a new-ish, I think it was launched last year, HTML5 sketching app called Miro, which is friggin' amazing. It's so much fun to waste time on. You don't need to be any kind of artist or even someone who can draw a stick man. They give you these incredible brushes and you can sort of play around and make something that actually looks pretty damn trendy. You could imagine it on a flyer for some hipster Cape Town band. It's really cool. Do play with it at miro.deviantart.com. So that's pretty rad and great way to waste time. Apparently, that you can get it. It's a lot of fun to play with on the iPad because you can. It's more tactile and you have fun with it. Very cool.
I want to see it.
So if you haven't been on DeviantArt since the days of writing really
Just
bad love
clarify the spelling
poetry,
again.
Muro.
Muro, Miro.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. So if you want to waste some time, it's pretty cool.
Nice,
and then
nice.
the other thing was something that I saw on Friday night. It's a Star Wars booklet thing, and I'll try and remember what the word is. It's because I looked it up. It's a scanimation book. Now it's unbelievably cool. I pretty much wet myself when I saw it from excitement.
What?
I was like an overexcited puppy. It's this big thick book, so it's probably a total anyway. So what you do is as you open the page, the images move. It's like an animated GIF but on paper.
Okay.
And how it's done, it's really sort of not that complicated. But they've chopped up an image and they've kind of sliced it, and there's opaque images. Opaque lines on the page and then little transparent spaces, so as you move it, it reveals more of the
Where's
image.
the website?
I will send you the link. I've put it on the Evernote, But
Okay, thanks.
I will tweet it because it is
Oh,
awesome.
here it is. Sorry, I'm being retarded.
It will
ThinkGeek.com
kind of change
slash
your...
books slash DAA9.
It is the coolest thing in the world. I want one so bad. Apparently you can buy them at Big Blue, but I haven't been able to find one.
It's $15.
But it's so cool.
I will get you one when I am next in the States.
Because you're the best.
Sam.
Yay! Except that I'll never leave the house again because I'll spend
You'll
all
just
day
sit and
sitting in
stare
the
at
corner.
your-
Like, ooh.
At your at walking across the virtual
Yes,
page.
the AT-AT is really cool, but oh no man,
AT-AT.
they're all amazing. The lightsaber battles are pretty amazing.
I
So
used to have a dog that walked like an AT-AT.
really stiff
Yeah. You know,
with hinges on its knees.
yes.
That's pretty cool.
Because I chopped off its leg.
Okay, so what is your pick of the week?
I was going to pick Good Player. And then we spoke about it
And
earlier
then
on
you
in the
forgot
show.
to download it.
No, it's cool. I'll pick Good Player. Why not? Actually, I'll pick Klexi, which is a third-party Plex app. I think Plex is the future of television. I've been doing a lot of experimenting. For example, I had one of the LG TVs with one of the new smart TVs that has a Plex client inside it. So I picked up the Plex server running on my Mac Mini, for example.
Awesome.
Showed all the videos and things that I had on there. And what I'm really loving on Plex are the video plugins. So there are channels for Twit, This Week in Tech, which is one of the networks that the ZA Tech Show is friends with. We sometimes appear on their shows. I was on Tech News Today last Friday. And so, you know, there's a Twit channel where you can watch Twit live. There's a Vimeo channel, so you can go and watch Vimeo videos. There's a YouTube channel. You can go and watch all your YouTube videos. There's Al Jazeera, so you can watch Al Jazeera English for free using
Very
Plex.
cool.
That sort of thing. Boing Boing TV. And the Plex client is starting to make its way all over the place. So Samsung, for example, with their new smart TV platform, somebody's written a Plex app for that. We should do a ZA Tech Show channel for Plex. I've actually been trying to figure it out. Anyway,
That's a good idea.
we've got an XBMC one thanks to our community, but we need a Plex one too. But the one thing missing from Plex for me was taking content on the road with you very easily.
Yeah.
And what Klexi does is it's a Plex client, so it connects to your Plex server, and you can access all of the content stored on that. But if you want to take something with you, it can do that as well. It'll download, transcode, and store it on your iPad or Android tablet. I think it's available for Android. I'm
very
not
cool.
sure. It's definitely available for iPad.
KLEXI.
KLEXI, yeah.
I now found it. Aha.
And then you can take stuff with you, which I think is super rad.
That
and
is very
that
cool.
is my pick of the week.
That's awesome. Do you think it's worthwhile buying one of those interactive TVs? I mean, considering you could get an Xbox or PS3 or
Yeah, it's going to become a feature that you just get with your TV anyway.
Yeah.
And at that stage, then you're going to have it anyway, and it'll be super useful. For me, I love clean design. I love simplicity. So the thought to me of having a wall-mounted TV where you can't see any cables and there's no need to stick any boxes underneath it,
Fair enough.
except for sound, because they all have such crap sound built in. But
Yeah.
but the thought of that is just
It is
blows my
pretty
mind.
exciting.
It's like I just have the TV and that's all. None of these ugly boxes by Microsoft.
Should try a projector. That's even cleaner because everything can really be tucked away, and then you get the full-on power effect. Except you can never watch
Maybe
TV
I
during
should
the
do
day
that in
again.
my bedroom.
It's actually surprisingly cheap. I mean, our setup, and we've got a huge screen. I think it's like 2.5 meters. The whole setup costs like 7.5K, which is
What?
so much cheaper
You have
than
a
buying.
HD projector?
No,
eh?
no. But we actually don't have that much HD content. We realize. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's yeah. I think you even looking at an HD projector though, you can do one for about 12K with the screen, which is totally cheaper than one of those giant TVs anyway. So
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
Projectors.
it's the way.
Yeah, Epson announced some new projectors last week at IFA. 3D projectors, ultra crisp.
3D.
And how do you guys find the ambient lighting? Do you kind of have to close the curtains and switch off all
It's
the lights?
actually
whenever
not that
you-
bad.
not
No.
that bad, eh?
During the day, yeah, you've got to try and make it as dark as you can. And it depends what you watch. If you're watching something dark like a horror film, then it's a bit problematic. But at night, it's really not bad. We you can have half the lights still on. You can't have the big ceiling light on in the living
Right.
room, and then you're fine.
Because I once had a home theater guy tell me to basically get a projector but also get a TV and then use the TV except for special occasions when you use the projector. I'm like, dude, I'm not going to buy both.
I'm
Seriously?
never.
You want me to do what?
What? Why? We very seldom watch anything during the day anyway. It's mainly sort of evenings. So
Because we're so busy working.
and my God, so
Yeah. Okay. Projector for porn. Everything else goes on the TV. Yeah. Okay, shall we call it a night then?
I think so.
This was a lot of fun, Spam.
It was. Thank you, Mr. Dingle.
Good to have you in the studio
Mm-hmm.
again.
Mm-hmm.
Samantha Beck Bessinger, Greenham_Sam on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
From Quirk e-marketing.
That's it.
Easily the leaders in the game.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
If you have a market that needs to be e-marketed at, speak to Sam and her team,
For
and they will
shizzle.
sort you
We
the
will
hell out.
e-market the crap out of your brand. Oh yeah.
Always a pleasure, Sam.
Thank you.
And I'm at Simon Dingle on Twitter. Thanks for watching. This was episode number 176 of the ZA Tech Show for Monday, 12 September 2011. Drop by our website if you haven't before at zatech.co.za. And if you haven't watched the show live, we do this every Monday night at 7 o'clock at zatech.co.za/live. That's Monday night South Africa time, which is UTC +2. The ZA Tech Show is made possible by Vodacom. Power to you at vodacom.co.za, and by BlackBerry. Love doing business on your BlackBerry smartphone at blackberry.co.za. We'll be back next week with episode number 177. That's right, I can count. Goodbye.
Stay pretty.